All right, so quick, I just need some feedback, everybody. Who can hear me okay without amplification? No hands. Okay, that's not good. Who can hear me now? Oh, I got a few hands. Okay. So the amplification thing is really that's gonna work well. Yep, you got switch. Okay, give me just a moment, everybody. Just gotta check something. Yeah, I guess we're good. Okay, welcome everybody. So I have a quick question for you. How many people here are from Bank of America? Raise your hand. Okay, just a few. Okay, what about Wells Fargo? Wells Fargo, okay, just one. Wow, okay. How many people are here from out of town? Anybody from out of town? Where are you? Columbia, South Carolina, right? Not the country.
No, not the country. Okay.
All right. So where are you from? Did you raise your hand?
I did. I came in from Raleigh.
From Raleigh. All right, wow, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
You know, I drove to the meetup in Raleigh last month, and somebody asked me, well, isn't it a little bit far to drive? And I was like, no, come on.
Yeah.
It's MuleSoft. I mean, it's exciting, right? Okay, so, all right, quick introduction, everybody. My name's Tim, and my background is solution architecture and also training. So I did about 3 years training for MuleSoft, and lately just into project delivery, and we also we continue to do some training as well. So what I wanted to talk about was the API delivery cycle. So as I go out and I deliver projects, what I'm finding is that there are some common, say recurring challenges and problems that I see with MuleSoft projects just in general, okay? So a lot of it has to do with gaps in knowledge. Question? Okay, so by the way, hey, we'll make this really interactive, so feel free anytime to just, give me a shout out, raise your hand, or whatever you want to do if you want to ask a question or interject a comment, it's no big deal. All right, we're going to be really informal, interactive, okay? So what I've found is that as I'm delivering some projects, right, so there are some recurring challenges that we see, gaps in knowledge from not only, say, MuleSoft customers, which is often the case, right? Often, people buy MuleSoft, but they don't really understand the whole breadth and scope and depth of its capabilities, right? I find that a lot. And not only from them, but also from other MuleSoft developers. Because let's face it, every one of us, I guess, before you did MuleSoft development, you did some other sort of technology. Perhaps, all right, now quick show of hands. Who came from a Java programming background? Raise your hand. Java programming. Okay, actually, I was thinking all the hands would go up. No, this is good. So who did not come from a Java background? Raise your hand. What background?
I was working in
.NET. Okay, cool. What about you? .NET. Okay, cool. Anybody else? What? .NET? Oh, okay. Anybody not .NET? .NET? Yeah. Okay. So Java or .NET. Okay. So that works. Okay. So, but what we find is that, and I think I think MuleSoft folks will even confirm this, right? So one of the challenges that we see is when it comes to the success of MuleSoft projects is that there is a gap in knowledge many times. And so what happens typically is the technologists and the developers, they'll take what they know from other technologies and they'll sort of cast that onto MuleSoft, and they'll they'll think about the solution to every problem in terms of the technology that they came from, right? So, when you're even as a MuleSoft developer, if you came from a Java background, you think about the solution to every problem in terms of Java, right? Maybe that's not the case with .NET. .NET people are smarter, right? Is that right? Well, I don't know. Okay. I'm just making that up. Okay. But that is a challenge. All right. So what we want to do is, as MuleSoft professionals, right, we want to understand the full breadth and scope and depth of the MuleSoft tool itself, because MuleSoft has created a very complete vision, as we know, for API management and API development. And they've got a great suite of tools for doing everything in the entire development lifecycle. But what we're finding is that there are actually very few, relatively few, that actually know all of the tool set. So I just want to encourage you to learn the whole tool set. Now, what I would like to share with you is just some lessons that we learned, not necessarily in the classroom, but lessons that were learned, say, out delivering projects. All right, so maybe you can benefit from this. Okay, but before we do, my battery's running low. Let me just make sure I don't run out of juice. All right. Good? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go through 5 lessons, everybody. 5 lessons that you might be able to, that I learned on delivering MuleSoft projects. So taking from a training background and then moving into development. So 5 lessons, so maybe you can get some benefit out of this too. We'll see. Okay? Okay, but lesson number 1, I was thinking about this particular lesson, thinking, all right, I was actually drawing upon, does anybody remember those old television commercials? You're not supposed to drive while drinking, right? And everybody's like, okay. Everyone looks guilty, like we're in a bar. You can't say that. Okay, so lesson number 1 is, you know how we used to say, friends don't let friends drink and drive? Do you remember that? Do you guys remember that commercial? Anybody remember that?
Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
That's, okay, thank you. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. Okay, good. Now, what we're finding is that, with MuleSoft at least, okay, this is especially true for the Java crowd, so you .NET guys can close your ears. But for the Java crowd, what we find is that one of the big mistakes that we see is that programmers are going to pack their MuleSoft projects filled with Java code. And what's the problem with that? Well, for everything you do in Java, there's probably a tool in the MuleSoft toolkit that can do it much faster. Okay? So, that being in mind, all right? Friends don't let friends drive drunk. All right, this is the first lesson. Friends don't let friends write Java code. So why is that? So again, we have examples of where people spend a lot of time writing Java code to do something that they could very easily do in MuleSoft. All right, so what I wanted to do here is just demonstrate for example, I want to make some examples. All right, first of all is a data weave sample. Now, so what we want to do is just give a demonstration. So we've got a little story about this, and we had a client recently that came to us and said, I'm having trouble with my MuleSoft project, and my MuleSoft project is just not getting done. I can't figure out how to do it. So we said, okay, no problem. We'll do what we can to help. If we can help, we will. No problem. So he opened up his MuleSoft code, and what we noticed is that there was a Java transformer in his flow, and we opened it up, and it referenced the Java class that was, how many lines? 300-400 lines of code? And he'd been working on this for 3 or 4 weeks. By the way, if the person I'm talking about is in the audience, please don't get mad at me. Because I think you would. Okay, well anyway, so hopefully, we'll see. Just it's all love, man. I got nothing but love for you, okay? Really. So he had spent, 2-3 weeks working on this Java code to do this transformation. And I said, oh, goodness. Well, what is the input that you want to use? And he showed me. And what is the output you want to use? And he showed me. And what I'd like to do is show you. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is take a look at, all right, who knows what this is? Raise your hand. Okay, good. All right, I'm in the right place then. All right. I knew I was in the right place when I saw the sign that says geeks who drink. Yeah. All right, so what I'd like to do here, everyone, is get a data weave, a transform message here. Okay? And I want to, now we're going to do this on the fly. Now I always get into trouble when I do things on the fly like this, but we'll see how this goes. All right, so what I want to do is I want to define the input. I want to show you the desired output. And then we're going to show you, I think, 11 lines of data weave code that does the transformation. Okay? And again, this fellow's spent, 3-4 weeks working on this code. Okay? Okay, bear with me. All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is the desired input. All right, this is the input. It's just an object. You can see it's not an array. It's just a series of key value pairs. But the output needed to be broken into an array where the key value pairs are broken into a couple of different key value pairs. One, the key, which would be data, extra data name, and then the value, which would be extra data value. All right, so you can see that the original key was here, and then the output should be that right there. P.APR, okay? So I want to take this input. All right, let's do this. This should be fun. All right, so what we're going to do here, everyone, is we're first going to create some sampled data. All right, can everybody see that okay? I want to make it a little bigger. I want to select the desired input as JSON. All right, now that we've got the whole thing, let me go ahead and maximize this. Okay, so now we'll sit here and wait for Studio to, come back. Anybody have to wait for Studio? Never, right? Never happens? Okay, good. There it is. All right, so I'm going to paste that into the input. All right. Now the preview shows nothing, right? I want the output to be JSON. Oh, by the way, Satish, where are you? Satish? Okay, you're doing data weave, aren't you? Yes. Don't worry, I won't steal your thunder, man. This is just one demo. So Satish is going to show us some data weave. I'm looking forward to that. All right, looks going to be fun. But let me just do one little sample, and then I'll move off data weave, I promise. You good? Okay. All right, so just to kind of show you that the preview is working here, let's just... Okay, there's our preview. Now remember, what is the desired output? The desired output is this, an array of key value pairs. Okay, now before I go out and just kind of blurt out the answer and show it to you. Okay, this is interactive. Question for you, who's the genius in the crowd that can tell me, lead me in the right direction on how to solve this problem? And I'll give you a hint. Please don't tell me to write Java code. Okay, anybody? Anybody? How do we solve this? I need to turn the top into the bottom, into the desired output. Okay, well, before I go off and just give you the answer, let me just offer a little explanation, okay? So first of all, let's just say that the input is not an object at all, but the input is an array, and then I want to apply some transformation to each element in that array. What would I use? What operator would I use? Who can tell me? Spit it out if you know it. I ask this question during interviews, and like nobody gets it. And I'm like, why could you not understand? So I have an array. Go ahead. What? Map? Boy. Go ahead. Say it again. Block. Okay. Block. I was thinking about the map operator. The map operator, right? Somebody remember map? Map. So what does the map operator do? Right? For a given input that's an array, I'm going to use a lambda transformation to transform each element in that array to some desired output.
You have the input, the output, and you drag and drop that window.
Yeah, drag.
I'm studying this stuff, so.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So you know all about the drag and drop features, right? Perfect. So Satish is going to show us not only the drag and drop features, but also how to write real data weave code. What do you think? Is that right? Am I right about that? He's smiling. He's like, yeah, what did we say, Tim? Okay, awesome. So, all right. So now, in this case, I don't have an array, do I? What do I have? I just have an object. So who can tell me? I'll just give you another hint. Who can tell me? What would the operator be? If I want to iterate over each property in the object and apply some transformation to each property in the object. Anybody? What is it? Keys? Who said map object? Oh, you get a prize, man. That was good. Map object. Right, absolutely right. So it was map object. As a matter of fact, let me show you the answer. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, it looks like, just a few lines here, right? 8 lines. And I'm going to put that into the, okay? So there you go. Okay, so we've got now, with the closing brackets, 12 lines of data weave code that does the job that somebody tried to write Java code for it with hundreds of lines and 3 weeks worth of work. Okay? So I'm going to make this assertion to you, and I want to ask you to challenge me on it, okay? And that is, whatever you think you need to do in Java, there is a tool in MuleSoft that will help you do it much faster. Make sense? We just got to know the tool. All right? So what does this do here? Just in case you can't see this, we are using the map object operator, so very good on that. Awesome. So we want to use the map object operator, first of all, to, again, iterate over each of the properties in the object, and then apply a transformation to each property. And there we go. Okay? Now, then to break out the objects and actually just get the values inside the objects, we had to do this here. So, all right? Okay, well, what's the point here? The point is not to show you this exact code, but the point is just to say this: friends, don't let friends write Java code. Okay? All right, what's another example? I got to tell you, I ask this question often during technical interviews. It's just a technical interview when I'm interviewing MuleSoft developers for the projects that we work on, and I ask this question: well, how would I write if-then-else logic, or how would I place if-then-else logic into my MuleSoft flow? It's a little question. How would I ask that? How would I do that? Who says it? Choice router. Good. But folks, I can't tell you how many folks that I interview, and thankfully it's not most, I'll just tell you. But I interview quite a few people that say, well, you know, I could write a Java class that would do that, right? And that's gonna eat it into a lot of time. Okay, so you want to definitely use the if-then-else. Then, of course, there's also security. Known also folks that want to write a lot of Java code around security. Now, anybody that knows that there's again a tool out of the box from MuleSoft to help them do security for APIs. And not only security, but collecting analytics. And what is the tool that we would use to secure our API? Who can tell me? So we're gonna secure our API. We're gonna collect analytics. We're gonna create contracts. What's the tool in any point platform? Anybody? What is it? Not quite. Not okay. Client ID, which is in what tool in any point platform? API manager, API gateway. Okay, so it's the API manager that, again, out of the box, allows us to secure APIs and actually collect analytics for our APIs. Again, no code's needed for that. All right. Okay. Anyway, that's lesson number one. Friends, don't let friends write Java code, because I'll make this assertion: anything you think you've got to do in Java, you can do in other tools for much less time. Okay. Now here's lesson number two. What I've found, this is very interesting. People don't often know MuleSoft as well as they think. Now, this especially applies for MuleSoft clients. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that MuleSoft clients will buy MuleSoft because it's the cool, new, hip, chic thing to do. But they don't often take the training and they don't know all the tools. So what you, as a consultant or a MuleSoft professional on a MuleSoft project, you often find yourself in the role of teacher. So that's lesson number two for me, and that is just be patient and just realize that people don't know the tool, and it's your job as a consultant or a MuleSoft professional to actually patiently help them learn it. Sound good? All right, that's lesson number two. Now, this next lesson gets into API-led connectivity and some good practices around defining what is an experience API, a process API, a system API. Okay, so we're going to talk about API-led connectivity now. So what I've seen is a lot of API-led connectivity done not so good. So what we see really is, what I see at least, tell me if you see something different, is when we go into MuleSoft projects, or we go into an environment where they already have a MuleSoft solution, there are point-to-point data integrations. Okay? Now, what's the problem with point-to-point data integrations? They forego any sort of opportunity for code reuse, right? So I've seen this once. I've seen point-to-point data integrations, and then the developer said, that's a process API. And then we was asked, well, where's the system API? And he says, well, I got one system API that interfaces with a back-end system. Okay, but still it was a point-to-point type of integration. But if you really want to get the most return on investment in MuleSoft for your clients, you want to apply API-led connectivity correctly. All right, now this is going to be borrowed from some of the teaching materials from MuleSoft, but this makes a good point, and that is, let's just say that we have some requirements to integrate data, right? We've got a consuming application, a web app, and we've got back-end systems, and we want to integrate all this data, and we want to produce that data as an API for a web app, okay? Now, traditionally, we would create an application that would simply get all the back-end data, integrate it, transform it, and then provide it via HTTP to some web application. But the problem with this is we've got if this is one big application, this is just like a point-to-point integration pattern, right? Is there any opportunity for code reuse here? Well, no, not at all. Even if you can deliver it on time, which typically you can, you've got limited opportunity for code reuse. You've got very tight coupling, and it is actually very difficult to govern, right? And so what happens is, 6 months later, when somebody asks you, hey, that's great what you did for the web app, but can you do something for us for mobile? You say, well, sure. So what do? You create another copy of the project, and you create a new API without reusing any of these existing code. And this is exactly the problem that MuleSoft helps us to overcome, right? This is exactly what API-led connectivity helps us to overcome. So what we do here is we say, look, we're going to take, instead of this black box approach, this point-to-point integration approach to data integration, we're going to say, look, let's do API-led connectivity. Now, I know you all know this very well. I get it. But there's some details about process APIs and system APIs that I'd like to share with you, and you may find this interesting and useful on your projects, okay? So we all know that API-led connectivity means that we're going to create a series of categorized APIs. System APIs, process APIs, experience APIs, and we're going to get lots of reuse out of it, such that if we have to actually add to this what we call an application network now, we can do so by leveraging existing APIs, right? Furthermore, if we want to add functionality, right, it's not a problem, we can do that. Let's just say we want to add shipment to this one. You see that there's total shipments and UPS, but what happens if we want to also introduce, say, FedEx, right? Easy, right? FedEx gets its own system API, we integrate it to the shipment process API, and we bend it, we don't break it, it's all good, right? Okay, good. I know you guys know that, and this is like old stuff. So here's the good stuff. Here's the new stuff, hopefully, right? Lesson number 3, let's talk about process APIs, okay? I've come across quite a few application networks that have process APIs that are literally named after back-end systems, right? And what's the problem with that? Remember, that's exactly the mission of a system API. But a process API is something more business-focused. Now, if you all have gone through the MuleSoft training, they might teach you, well, a process API is a place where you can do orchestration and transformations. But I want to assert that it's something much more powerful than that. And if you do it right and you leverage it correctly, you can really do some good for data reusability, for API reusability for your organization. And that is to make process APIs that resemble business data entities. For example, right? What I have here up on the screen is an entity relationship diagram. Just kind of curious, who has done data modeling in your days? Anybody done data modeling? Anybody done data modeling? Okay, good. So when you're doing data modeling and you're thinking about how's a database supposed to look, you're thinking about all of your major business data entities, right? And in this case, we've got an entity relationship diagram for selling books, right? And as you'd expect, there's a book entity. As you'd expect, there's a customer entity. All right, how many is, just quick show of hands, how many of you have heard of the single view of customer design pattern that MuleSoft is promoting? Have you heard of it? Come on, nobody's heard of it? Single view of the customer. Okay, so, whew, wow, okay, thank you. We got one, yeah, all right. Okay, guys, it's a very powerful design pattern because no matter what company you are, you're going to have customers. If you don't have customers, you have no money, right? All right, so you want to know all about your customers. So MuleSoft is promoting a single view of the customer process API that collects customer data from lots of different backend systems. A very powerful pattern. So what you want to do is you want to make your process APIs and you want to make them resemble major business data entities. Okay? Don't make them resemble back-end systems. Make them resemble business data. Questions on that? Because that's kind of an important point. What I've found is that if you can get that one right, you can really do some good things for your application network and reusability. Yes, sir?
So in the NoSQL world, that there is no schema and stuff like that, how does the process API layer kind of transform?
Okay, yeah.
I don't define any schema and stuff like that when I'm going to have MongoDB or something like that, right? So in that case, will that be a process API?
Oh, yeah. So if you have back-end data in, say, a MySQL database,
Like MongoDB.
Like MongoDB.
I'm not talking about a schema-less environment.
Schema-less environment. Okay, now that's a good question. So let's just say there's something like exact target, right? And that's actually going to bring me to lesson number 4. I'm going to answer your question, okay? We did a project recently for, anybody heard of exact target? All right, okay, so something like that. So if you have a back-end system that serves up, say, unstructured data, let's just say is that the case for you? Serves up unstructured data. It's very much a temptation to look and create a system API that almost regurgitates the data and its data structure that you get from the back-end system. But let me assert to you that that is a total waste of time. What you really want to do is create an interface for the system APIs that resemble business data. So for example, what data are you going to get from that? What did you say it was, a MongoDB?
Yeah.
MongoDB. What data is in that MongoDB?
Let us say an organizational employee information.
Employees. Okay, and then employee hierarchy. Okay, good. So in this case, we would have a process API for employee. It's almost like a single view of the employee, right? Okay, good. But the system API for that, it's not going to look, you don't want to just regurgitate data from the backend system. You want to have the interface for your system API actually look like business data. So you want to have a resource there for employee. Okay, so remember, part of the power of API-led connectivity is that you can quickly interchange back-end systems real fast, relatively speaking. Okay, so you'll want your system API to actually return business data. So you'll want to have a resource for employee, get employee, and then get employee by ID and that sort of thing. But you want it to resemble business data. You want the interface of your system API to resemble business data. Make sense? Awesome. Carry on, awesome. So that's lesson number 4, really. Your system APIs, they shouldn't resemble something cryptic. They should resemble something that actually makes a difference to the business. And therefore, when you want to actually replace it or interchange it with, you can quickly interface that with your process APIs without making the writers of your process APIs learn like a whole new language about how to communicate with the back-end system, right? Okay. All right, I don't have much more time. Experience APIs, and of course we know that experience APIs are for actors or actor types, and that includes, of course, consuming applications. Let me move on because I'm running out of time. The API delivery cycle, we know that before we build it, we've got to design it. One of the cool things about Anypoint Platform is that we can test the design before we actually build it, but that's all the steps right there, okay? Now I'm going to lead into something here. Now remember that the API development cycle includes designing, and then building, and then deploying APIs. And you'll notice that there is a tool within Anypoint Platform for every step of that development cycle. So I just want to encourage you to use every tool in the platform. All right? Notice that each tool of the Anypoint Platform is used, but one thing is lacking, and this is going to lead us into this next lesson. Lesson number 5 is this especially applies to system APIs. What you're going to find is that it often takes a long time to learn how to communicate with back-end systems. You have to get access, right? You have to learn the protocol, you have to learn the data structures, and there's a lot to learn. So what I've found is that if you have a team of MuleSoft developers, you'll have an API designer, turn him loose immediately doing the design, and then take another developer and turn him loose actually creating what I call a connectivity prototype. But get that done early in the life cycle. Do it first, because it takes so much time. Does that make sense? All right, so I didn't see that in MuleSoft's life cycle, but it's something I think you're going to definitely benefit from if you're able to get the connectivity figured out early in the project, hopefully before the design phase is done. All right, good? Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. Just in summary, friends, don't let friends write Java code. And also remember, you're a teacher when you go out on these projects. All right, because many people just don't know this tool yet. It's big, it's growing, I get it, but there's still a gap in knowledge. Number 3, process APIs should resemble entities in an ERD. System APIs should return canonical business data, not some cryptic backend data. Don't make the writers of your process APIs figure out the semantics of your backend data sources. Number 5, create a connectivity prototype early in the project, and that'll save you some time. All right, that's it. Thank you.